How many of us meet someone and decide that we'll go have a drink with them, go to breakfast with them, go have coffee, right? Nothing. Yeah, that turned into a nightmare for me.
Las Vegas, Sin City. It's a place to let your bad side free. But a culture that promotes so much sin comes with a cost. Las Vegas is one of the largest sites for underground human trafficking, especially sex trafficking. It causes abuse and violence, and it's happening right under our noses. I'm Hanna Anderson, and if you're like me, you probably didn't realize that was happening right here. I've decided to sit down with as many people as possible so I can learn about this industry and what we can do to help. It's so important that we find out what's really happening in Vegas.
I grew up as an at-risk girl. I grew up with violence in my home. Domestic violence was regular. My father is a Vietnam veteran. I lost a very dear friend due to domestic violence. She was shot and murdered. Who was her boyfriend, ex-boyfriend at the time, and we were all friends. First guy who said he loved me, I married him. First guy, okay? It was ridiculous. And I suffered tremendous domestic violence, and I was raped during when I was married to him. And while in the military, and it was very hard to try to let them know or alert them what was going on at that time. It's like you're a civilian, you need to handle that. From there, just the whole spiral downhill happened because of the abuse I suffered, not knowing how to because of my culture, I did not know how to reach out for help. Where I'm from, you don't go to receive therapy, you take your problems to the Lord in prayer. I got caught up. I was low self-esteem, all of this stuff, and I got caught up, and then I made a decision while I was still in the military as a young adult. I made a decision when I was in Las Vegas to be a part of the nightlife. So I know firsthand what these young ladies and young women are going through. I was an exotic dancer, and I also took men out of the club. I never had a pimp, and so I thought I was in control. But you're never in control, in my opinion, because it really does a number on your mind and your soul. I went back to Memphis, went home, and home was supposed to be safe, but it was anything but safe because at that point, I took myself out to a nightclub one night because I felt like, I need to get out. I just need to try to enjoy my life a little bit. I don't know anybody anymore. Everybody's grown and moved on. So I decided to take myself out, and that is when my nightmare happened. That's when I became sex trafficked. Yeah.
So it was after
it was
a full life.
Yeah. And then a new nightmare began. And at that point, I really felt that God hated me, and I felt that I didn't have a reason to live. I was like, why am I even here? After I met a young man and decided to go with him to have breakfast. It was him and his friend, and we took two separate cars, so I thought I was safe. I did not know what sex trafficking was. No one told me about that. That wasn't as big as it is now, Looking back, I realized that even in those clubs back in the day, there were young girls that were in those clubs. But you left them alone because they had pimps, and so you needed to get out of the situation, else you could wind up hurt.
Wow, okay, so how long were you trafficked?
And I will tell you this, a lot of people will go, that's not long, but it was only for a week. That week felt like a year. It was, the pimp, he states that he needed to break you in. So before he put you out there, so nightly I was raped because he needed to test the product. And the threat of the gun was always there. The threat of murdering my son was there. He did have access to my driver's license. He knew where I lived. And the sad part about it is that I wasn't just held in captivity. Your mentality is held captive. And he would allow me to go home after my shift. It was bad. He would drive by my home and my son would be out playing, and he would describe what my son had on. And it's time to go, it's time to go. Your son looks very nice today. He has on such and such. And so when you're a mother and someone is describing your child, what they have on, what you're doing, who's around your home, what are you going to do? Oh, and then people go, why didn't you call the police? He said he would murder my family, would murder my son. I remember some of the Johns, and I remember their faces, some of their faces. I remember begging and asking for help. and saying, just please, go and tell someone that I'm here against my will. And I remember being handled for learning the customer. I became angry. I mean, when I tell you angry, I would fight anyone after that ordeal, after having been saved or saved myself. I was angry, and I would fight even my mother. And I serve clients that fight their mothers. And I understand, because it's anger, and it's not the mother or the parent or guardian, it's what they've been through. Right? So that's my ordeal, and it's a lot, and it's amazing that I'm always laughing that I'm here. Take your safety seriously. When you skip school, you're vulnerable. Why are you vulnerable? Because the pimp, the recruiter, understands that you're not where you're supposed to be, which means you don't care about your safety. You don't even care about your education. The highest group of trafficked individuals in the United States alone, they're African American girls. And so for me, as an African American woman, I would like to say to the African American to my people, we need to wake up and we need to have a conversation. My culture, it's hard to talk about homosexuality. It's hard to talk about all kinds of things, rape, molestation, anything that makes us a little uncomfortable. We don't want to have that conversation, but we can't afford not to have a conversation. Purple Wings is a 501c3. We're a nonprofit, but we are gender specific. So we take care of at-risk girls. I hate really using the word or the term at-risk, because I really think that all youth, they're at risk to something. I started it because of a vision or a dream I would have nightly about flying with purple wings, right? And then thank you. And then purple is the color of royalty. And purple has a lot of meaning as far as domestic violence. That's the national ribbon. And I am a survivor of domestic violence as well as sex trafficking.
If you want to learn more about Toshia and Purple Wings, there's a link in the bottom, and she also has a hotline at what number?
702-635-2665.
And the hotline is for
anything. If you need us, if you're in a dire situation, because we also take a lot of suicidal ideation calls from the youth, and we have been trained in that area. So if you're feeling bad, suicidal, if you have a tip, you think your friend or someone, or even you think if you're being pimped out, if you just want help at any time, you call 702-635-2665. But if you're in immediate danger, of course you dial 911. But we're here if you need us. Absolutely.
Thank you for that and for talking to me today.
Absolutely. Thank you.